Welcome to One Nation and SLM Extra. This is your host, Kirk DeMars, and we've got a good program tonight. I've got a couple of guys that are going to be on here in just a few minutes, and we've had a pretty busy week around here, and I'm sure just from talking to them that they've been really busy with the things that are going on in their lives too. But man, what a week we've had. Blair Oaks Falcons and the Helias Crusaders are state champions in football in Class 3 and 4A. That's a pretty amazing thing happening right here. As well as a couple weeks ago, we had the Southern Boone Eagles. They finished as state champions in soccer. And we've got some other state champions at Calvary Lutheran, Fatima. We'll get into more detail on those things on another program. I'm going to try to have some of those coaches and possibly student athletes on then. But before we go any further, I'm going to go ahead and bring on our guest co-host tonight. And I've got Mr. Derek Spicer. Derek, how you doing, man?
I'm good, Kirk. How are you, buddy?
I'm doing great. Hey, thanks for coming on with me tonight.
Hey, anything for you, Kirk. Whatever it takes.
I appreciate that. That's awesome, and you've said that before, and I appreciate that. Jay's out. He's been out for a couple of weeks, and you filled in, and he's doing much better right now. But
I don't know if I can fill Jay's shoes, but I'll do the best I can do.
Well, his shoes are not really fillable, so he's an awesome young man. But he's my son also, I have to say that.
Well, he is.
I get to say that he's a great young man. So, hey, we've got a great guest tonight, and we're going to be talking to Broc Silvers from up at Westminster in a little bit. You know Broc a little bit. Tell us a little bit about from the time that you've got to know him.
I do know Broc. Actually, he coached my son up at Versailles his junior and senior year, and great individual and a great football coach. So looking forward to talking to him.
Yeah, that's going to be good. Well, we're going to go ahead and go to him here in just a second. But first, let's go ahead and do our first sponsor, CNS Business Services. We'll go ahead and show the video, and then I'll just say a quick thing about them, and then we'll get right to Broc.
Awesome.
It's time to show what you're made of. At CNS Business Services, we know how to connect employees with employers. We've been doing just that for over 40 years. CNS works with top employers in Central Missouri, placing employees in positions that meet the needs of the employee as well as the employer. At CNS, we take the work out of finding you work. Contact CNS Business Services. It's time to take control of your employment future.
Say yes to CNS.
Hey guys, at CNS Business Services, they are still needing some people to fill positions all throughout mid-Missouri here. So make sure that you get in touch with them if you need any work or you know somebody that needs some work right now. They're hiring for full-time, part-time, remote, temp to hire, and direct hire positions. Those positions include administrative and clerical, manufacturing and labor, customer service, technical, automotive, and mechanical positions. I would definitely place my trust with these people in helping me to find a good job. They're good friends of mine, and I know that they will do their best to work hard for you and get you where you need to be. So contact Paula and her team with Stephanie at CNS Business Services, and you'll be glad you did. That's my plug for CNS Business Services. All right, Derek, got you back on here, man.
All right, sir.
You ready to bring Broc in?
Bring him in. Let's go.
All right, here we go. Hey, Broc, how you doing?
There he is.
Doing well, thank you guys.
Hey, we're very
Broc,
excited.
how are you, buddy?
Doing well. Been a long day so far, but it's always good being on the grind.
Yeah. Tell them where you're at right now.
Yeah, I'm down in Little Rock. Recruited Southwest Missouri this morning and headed down. And two of the other coaches are down in Arkansas tonight, and then two of them are going to be on the Tulsa bandwagon for a couple of days. And just that part of the year recruiting, we've hit most schools that are open right now, and so we've got to get out and travel and do what we can to catch some other guys. And we've currently got some guys from Arkansas, a guy from Batesville in Northwest Arkansas, and we've had some really good players at Westminster from Arkansas and Oklahoma area. So we're trying to go down and see if we can't find some more guys to fill certain spots on our roster. You just never know when there's somebody somewhere down the road, and you just want to keep turning over those pages until you find the right guy.
Well, I know that's a difficult job that you're doing right now, just in the fact that it keeps you away from your family, and we'll talk a little bit about that here in just a moment. But just tell everybody a little bit about the positions that you hold at Westminster. You've got wear a few different hats there.
Yeah. Well, I played for Coach Welty and about 12 years ago, and Matt Mitchell was still the AD when I was there. So I feel comfortable going back, and I am the head men's golf coach and the offense coordinator. I teach a couple classes. I teach a weight training class, and I'm going to help out with the teaching, intro to teaching type is in the future. The hard part is with that sports schedules. How does that all work out? But, I do that, and I also do some strength training with the football team. So there's a lot of things. And right now with COVID, we're actually doing a lot of maintenance work. We changed golf cart tires, help out. We've been doing some inventory work, and we're following guys around right now and helping them open doors and open boxes and counting beakers and different things that I never would have thought I would do, but more than happy to do whatever we got to do as a college to get to where we need to be in the next couple to reopen and get everybody back and be healthy.
Yeah, it's been quite a year, and I mean, you've actually not been on the sidelines coaching with Coach Welty yet, have you?
No, we had about 5 practices, so we kind of had a flip schedule where we had more of a spring-like schedule for us. It was really good, though. The offensive staff and I are brand new, so we got to have those practices, kind of set a depth chart like a school like a Missouri would get to do in the spring. Got to have a big game in the fall. Got to have about 40 of our recruits there at the same time. So that worked out really well for all of us, to have a big day like that because, we can't wait until March to have kids on campus to decide if we're their school. A lot of them will be making decisions in the next couple months. So that was a big deal for us to have those guys and have that opportunity. And plus for our kids to get to play. If they weren't practicing as a college student, you'd just be going crazy right now. You're just training, but you got to have that carrot at the end of what am I going to get to do? When are we going to get in? And that's still up in the air. We're doing the best we can as a coaching staff to give them the best college experience we can.
Derek, I think you got a question for him, don't you, sir?
Yeah, Brock. The UMAC had to make some tough decisions this year, canceling sports. Tell us a little bit about it.
Yeah, at Westminster, we're in 2 different conferences. We're in the SLEAC for basketball and all other sports, and football's in the UMAC. And everybody's got to look at it themselves. The problem is you've got schools from different states. All the Minnesota schools, they had different rules than maybe Missouri was allowing in terms of travel. You've got to look at all that. The nice thing about the college world is I found out is they have commissioners. The Tri-County Conference in football doesn't have a commissioner per se that can do all that and make decisions. So we have somebody that's out of our hands, which is nice to be on those calls with him. And we still get to put our 2 cents in. But it doesn't come down to each college making that decision. Thankfully, we have a commissioner that guides us in that, and I've got to be a part of that. They're looking for the safety of each kid, absolutely. Thing. And then, if you look at big-time college sports right now, they're canceling games left and right. They're paying hundreds and hundreds of dollars for these COVID tests for every single kid. And at the college, we found out it would cost us hundreds of thousands of dollars to try to play this fall. And not only do you have to do your kids, you have to do the officials too. There's other parts of that we don't all understand, or I didn't understand, that goes into just being able to play in the COVID restrictions that they have.
Okay. Yeah, that's interesting.
You've got a lot to deal with, and I mean, I know that that's something that's completely different than most coaches throughout Missouri and the nation or everywhere have ever had to deal with. I mean, this is just a totally unique situation, and people aren't going to be able to have that figured out right at the very beginning. You got to kind of navigate through that and figure that out, right?
Yeah, I think the hard part for us was I was excited to get going as anybody was, and I felt like a freshman, not knowing what was going to happen. I hadn't been able to coach on the sidelines yet. It's the first time I think in 46 years Coach Welty wasn't coaching in the spring, he said. So just a completely foreign idea of what do we do. And you don't want to tell kids something and then have to change because it was changing every minute, every day. We might tell them something, but then that would change in the next week. And we wanted to give them hope, but we didn't want to give them false hope either. So we were trying to do the best we can because, the freshmen were calling home. Mom and dads want to know what's going on as well. And we just didn't have answers. And we didn't want to just, give them false hope or not know anything. So we just kind of sat back and said, we're going to do the best we can. We'll let you know what we know. and that was really tough on our staff and Coach Welty and Matt Mitchell's athletic director making those decisions on what was going to be best for us.
That's you've got a lot of people that you've got to work with. You got your coaches, you got your faculty. I mean, I know Derek's got another question about a particular group that you've got to deal with and handle all those things too. Derek, go ahead on that.
Yeah, Brock. I mean, how have you guys been able to communicate with your student athletes?
Well, our guys have been on campus. The college has done some things where we have a lot of pan tilt zoom cameras in the classroom so they can live stream them if they do get quarantined, if they're a close contact, all that kind of stuff to help the guys out. But in the summer we started doing a lot of Zoom meetings, and I've never used a Zoom call in my life. I know it's been out there, and we did a lot of Zoom stuff. We recorded a lot of things too, to send out to our guys so they could review playbooks and get to know our coaches. Trying to give every kid an opportunity to learn, and not everybody learns that way. We got to do it on the field, and so we've tried to do everything from text messages, phone calls, to Zoom, and then it was in-person meetings, and being on the field was the most important thing, because we found maybe where we were so lacking, or where I did a bad job of teaching a certain concept that I've got to go revisit. And thankfully we had this fall to kind of figure all that out, and being a teacher or professor, we have a guy on our staff that coaches our defensive line, is a full-time professor. We go through him a lot to get information out to the faculty about what we're doing and what we need to do as coaches, or maybe asking them for help in what we need to be doing and what's working for them.
Awesome.
Again, I mean, there's just so many different aspects of everything right now, and you guys are doing a fantastic job up there. I know it's hard to work through the disappointment that the student athlete has as far as not being able to compete, but I know you guys are also wanting to get out there and compete as well.
Yeah, absolutely. I was ready to hit the ground running. We brought in about 30 freshmen and all these guys that I got to help recruit when I got there, and I'm ready to see them play. I was ready to see them compete. And thankfully we got to do that. We got to see them compete. We got to get some film on them. Was it a great situation? No, but we made it work. A lot of our guys had classes still, and guys would be quarantined, and we missed 3 or 4 starters. But at that time, all about getting reps, getting kids evaluated. And hopefully, our goal this spring is to play 5 games in our conference. And, if we can get all 5 of those games in, I'll feel better about where we're at, coming into than I would have if we would have played this fall, because by the time we would have got to week 1, I probably still wouldn't have had a great grasp on our depth chart and what everybody was good at. We got kids with skills at different levels than I did at the high school world. So, how can I use their skill set? How can I maximize their skill set to help our offense or our team out? And then what can I do to help them grow? So we got to help them and say, hey, this is what you need to focus on before you come back in March. Maybe it's being able to catch the ball, or maybe it's getting just stronger, bigger. Whatever the recipe was that we need for each player, they got a little piece of that before we sent them home.
Mm-hmm. That's again, I appreciate what it is that you guys are doing, just because it's far beyond what I think I would have been able to handle or tolerate anyway. I don't know. It's completely different. I mean, I grew up in a different era, and I almost think that they would have said, "Well, we're just pushing through it. Forget it." And I don't know how that would have worked. I don't know. One thing that really impresses me, that again, you have worn multiple hats at the different places that you've been, like at Versailles. You coached several different sports there. You're coaching a couple of different sports here. You've talked about being an assistant football coach as an offensive coordinator, and you're also head men's golf coach. How are you going to be able to navigate that in the spring? Golf is in the spring too, right?
Really, golf's year round. College, we'll have a fall season and a spring season. So it was going to be an issue in the fall. And what we do is our women's golf coach is the girls basketball coach, Miss Coach Washington. So she would help me by taking the guys to tournaments if I couldn't be there. And then I was going to return the favor in the spring. In a typical year, Matt Mitchell, our AD, has been a golf coach before, and Todd Creel, who we brought in as assistant basketball coach and our student information director, he could also take them. It's going to be tough, because I don't want to do a disservice to our golf team. And the hard part is I have 2 or 3 of our guys, our top 10 guys on the golf, also football players. So those are still questions we have, is whether we're going to be able to let them go play golf in a tournament on Monday and Tuesday, and then still be able to practice and be a starting safety. And, it's a unique situation. We're going to do the best we can to help each kid individually, especially if they can handle that with their course load, because, the ultimate goal is obviously to have every kid graduate in our program and have a great career. And, yes, football is important. Yes, golf's important, but, we're setting them up for the next 40 to 50 years of their life. And whether they shoot a 68 or they make all conference but don't graduate, we're doing them a disservice. We got to do everything we can. And that's what my major belief is, yeah, we're trying to help you, but at the same point, we're trying to make sure that we give you an opportunity. We tell kids when we recruit them, you give us 4 years, we're going to give you the best 40 years of your life. And hopefully you have a career and something you wake up every morning excited to do. And that's the big thing is guys that come here, they want them to graduate. Their parents want them to graduate. And sometimes we got to push them a little bit. And so we're going to juggle that the best we can with Coach Mitchell. The conference tournament's on a Saturday, so they could probably, as long as we're not playing that Saturday, still playing that. So it's just going to be a nightmare for scheduling is what it's going to be, and I'm also going to teach a class during that time. So that's going to be even worse in terms of time management, so practice schedules got to change, and it just, it's going to be tough, but if we can get it in, it's going to be rewarding no matter what, no matter how hard it is.
Yeah. Well, I mean, you've got some other people we'll talk about here in just a moment when we come back from what I'm going to call one of our commercial breaks. But we've got some really good sponsors that help us put on this program. And Diesel Power Plus out of California, they're right on the corner of 87 and Highway 50. You've probably been down through there before, haven't you, Broc?
Yes, I have a lot.
But a lot, yep. Since you played at Eldon, and you probably went and played against California and did all that, so. They've got quite a facility there. Delton and Ashley Rissler, I mean, they've got a huge facility. It's very unique, and they've got a lot of different things that people would find very interesting going in there. That one thing that they've got coming up is on April 17th, and it's called the Crossroads Truck Show. This is going to be really, really big, and Delton and Ashley are really excited about everybody coming in from all over for this truck show on April 17th. So I'm just going to give you guys a quick little video of what their store looks like, and then we'll get back to Derek's next question for you, Broc. So we'll do this, and we'll be right back.
Great.
Nation bow before him, bow before my Lord. Let every nation bow before him, bow before my Lord. Rulers and kingdoms will adore and bow before my Lord.
That horn, that may seem annoying to some people, but it catches my attention. I like it. They've got all sorts of stuff out there. There's other businesses that are in there too. And again, if anybody ever wants to get out there to Diesel Power Plus out on 87 and 50 Highway, right at the Crossroads Shopping Center, you guys will find some cool stuff there. All right, Derek, you ready to go with your next question?
I'm ready.
Let's go.
Hey, Broc, tell us a little bit about your background and how you got to Westminster.
Okay. I played at Westminster. I actually transferred from Avila University, and let me go back. I'm sorry. I graduated from Camden High School. I played for Bob Shore, went to Avila University, transferred to Westminster. I went to the wrong college for the wrong reasons, and felt like home when I got there. And then whenever I started teaching, I got my first job at Eldon with Shannon Jolly, who's now the head coach of City, and learned a ton under him. Got an opportunity to go to Versailles, and went to Versailles, head coach there for 7 years as a football coach, coached wrestling, coached baseball, coached track. Kind of, the same story a lot of rural Missouri guys have. And then Coach Welty called and offered me an opportunity to come back. And, it was going to college and where you go to college, I think, is one of the top 3 important decisions in your life. Obviously, your spouse is a big one, probably the most important thing, and obviously. But I wanted to give a chance to help some guys get recruited. I had some former players of mine like Kobe Williams and Dallas Waller and the Trotters and all those guys that wanted to go to college, and I really fell in love with helping them get opportunities, and that was a big deal for me. So I wanted to keep doing that, and more and more it intrigued me. The more and more I wanted to maybe try that and see how it was all going to work out.
That's very cool. I was talking about there's some other people that you need to talk about too. Tell us a little bit about your family, and I know you've got a couple of kids and probably a fantastically supportive wife. Why don't you tell us about it?
Yeah, no, my wife is our rock. That was the hardest decision. I really wanted to make this move. And she's from Eldon. We still live in Eldon now, and she's lived there her entire life. And we met teaching, and she's the greatest coach's wife you can have. Does everything for all of our assistant coaches, made dinners, did all that stuff. But in this world, I'm gone a lot more. Like I'm in Little Rock right now at a hotel, and she's having to do with our daughter and our son. And our daughter's 3 years old, Mary Lou. My son is 11, and Kale plays basketball, he plays baseball, he plays football. So he's doing all that stuff all the time too. So it's hard for us to both be in one place at the same time. And this is a decision we had to make as a family. This is not something that I could make by myself. This is something that we had to sit there and pray about and really decide was, hey, is this the right path for us? Because I could be fired in a year, and it's a little different world in college. Some of these guys move around a lot. I don't want to be that guy. I always want to be like, 26 years. I'd rather do something like that than have 11 jobs in the next, 10 years and go different places and move around. And that's just not fair to the family, I don't believe.
Yeah, no, I completely agree. I mean, you only have that one period of time with your children,
Absolutely.
and as well as I mean, we got to take care of our wives. We've got to be there for them, and when we're not, it puts a lot of strain on them. So that's very good that you guys are working very hard at that. And man, that's a long drive, isn't it, from Eldon to Fulton?
Yeah, and that was the conversation this is what I wanted to do. And I thought this was best for our family and the future and what could be. But I also didn't want to uproot them until I knew this is going to be successful. I thought I'd do a good job at this. College, I thought I would enjoy this, but I've got 11 and a half years in the public retirement system. It was a point to where I didn't want to look back 30 years from now and wonder what if. And so that's when we decided together that this is worth a shot, but we weren't going to move until we were 100% sure, just because it wasn't fair to my son and my daughter. We love who does our daycare, all that stuff. And there's a lot more that goes into that decision than when I was a single guy back when I was at Eldon, and I was just making this for me. And every decision now has a impact for 4 people in our family, and that's tough.
Yeah, our decisions they do have an impact on whether it's going to be a positive or a negative one, and hopefully we learn quickly from those things. And seems like you got a great head on your shoulders, and you're trying to make those decisions as you go along the way. Derek, I know you've got another question for him. You ready for that one?
I do, Brock. 2020 has been a very unusual year for sports and a lot of other things. What are you looking forward to in 2021 and beyond? What are some of yours?
Yes, you're right. I just wanted to see what a normal year looked like as a college coach. As I was making my decision whether this was going to be a lifetime change for me or this was going to be, hey, this was a great trial, and I'm going to go back to coaching in high school. I still don't know that answer, and I don't know that I will until everything goes back to quote unquote normal. But more 21, I just want our kids to get that experience that we're promising them whenever we have those conversations and recruiting them, that they're going to get a great education, but they're still going to get to play the sport that they love. They're going to grow as men through that. They're going to still learn the discipline and the work ethic it takes, and then, one of the big things for me is, when you go interview for a job, and I tell these guys, what's going to set yourself apart? And playing college football for 4 years, you're going to put yourself in such a small number percentage wise. And so it's going to be it's going to be advantageous for you in that interview, because they're going to know that you're not a quitter, that you can work, whether you're an all conference player or whether you're a guy that just plays on special teams or whatever it is. Every role is important. And there's such a small amount of people that actually stay and play for all 4 years that once it is, you want those guys to have so they can come back and share their story. And we can sell them to the next family. Look at this guy. We've got some great success stories from Westminster College, from head coaches at CBC, coaches all over the country, Coach Pingle and all those guys, and guys that work for Aldi's. And that's what we try to sell these guys on is, look, if you want to be in this role, this is what we have. People that have done this from this exact area.
All right. You've had it from two different perspectives being at Westminster. You've been a student athlete, and now you are a coach. What do you appreciate about this particular time in your life as far as being a coach and being a part of the administrative staff and the different things you're doing now?
I just never respected how hard our coaches really had to work, until you get on that side of it, in terms of the managing the time, about kids, recruiting guys. And then, when you're out recruiting, then you're not retaining guys. I'm not talking to, Wyatt Ellis, my quarterback. I'm not getting to have those conversations, developing him. So it's a give and take ship. Every time I'm out, I'm not there. And so just like in a great marriage, all that stuff it's how does it all work? How does it all fit? And how do we make it work? And I think that's the hard part is, Troy Tomlin was there when I was, and he worked his tail off. And I saw that, but as a player, you don't appreciate how much they did for me until you come back and you see how much goes into it. I'd do anything to go back and play again now, knowing what I know now, and everybody says that. And that's why I always have those conversations with young men and even female student athletes about opportunities. So that way you won't ever wonder what if, and like you hear those stories a lot of, I could have done this, I could have done that. And anytime they say that, that's a regret. And so we're trying to open doors of opportunity for people so they don't have those regrets, so they can go find out for themselves. And if it doesn't work out, it's okay. But, open that door, peek inside of it, and then, decide if that's for you or not. And that's our big sales pitch. It's not about making money for me. It's not about all that stuff. It's about giving a guy a chance, letting him succeed. And this level, it's just a higher level than the college. You got a lot more committed guys here. You get to go out and recruit like I'm doing now and find those guys. And it's not about who's coming up in 8th grade. You're not waiting for this class to come up. If we're not very good, that's my fault. And that's what I like is that we get to bet on ourselves at this level as coaches. Whether that's a great bet or not, we're about to find out. But it was worth a shot for me for sure.
Yeah, that's very good advice to those young men, and just saying, do your best that you possibly can right now. Give everything you can right now, because you're not going to be able to go back. Some of the, we know that as we get older, we get wisdom and we learn some of those things. About the only thing physically I can offer right now that would have been maybe an advantage is now I'm a little more aerodynamic. That'd be the only.
Yeah, you be both.
But no, it is really, when you look at it, it's a short time. And if they will just to take advantage of everything they can, gleaning from their coaches and the experience, they'll have a blast, and they'll not be looking back with any regrets.
We always tell our guys, college football takes up about 2% of their 4 years in college, in their total time. So that's not a lot to offer, but it's going to put you in that small percentage of guys that have completed it. But that's the hardest 2%, maybe physically. And maybe even mentally. Classes are tough here at Westminster, no doubt about it. We have great educators. But, football in college is not for everybody. Everybody has the dream, or most high school football players have that dream at some point. But it's following through on that and putting in the work that it takes. And that's why those guys are so successful when they graduate. And I'm proud of every guy that comes in and does stay, and that's the whole goal, is to retain all of our guys, get them all to graduate, get them to stay and play. And, we have a number out there, and I just did some research when I came in. What did we not do well in recruiting, or maybe what have we already done well? And we have more kids from Missouri on our football roster than any other program in the state. 85% of our guys are from Missouri. And I think that's a tribute to our coaching staff going out and getting those guys, getting those connections with high school coaches, and trying to stay local. So that way those guys, their parents come and they got a good bond to the college, and they want to give back, and they want to stay in this area. So then our graduates are local, and yes, I'm in Little Rock, so it's hard to say that, but we've done everything we can in Missouri. I think we've been to 212 high schools already in Missouri, trying to recruit young men and give them opportunities.
That's awesome.
Hey, can I just ask one quick question?
Yeah, absolutely.
Hey, Brock, do we have any current Versailles Tigers on the Westminster football team right now?
Yeah, we do. Quinn Randall's playing H-back for us. He's a young man that was an all-state offensive lineman for us, and he's doing a really good job. He's a freshman. Taylor Dobbins is playing running back for us. Kobe Williams goes to school here, and he's playing basketball. Chase Hyman is playing offensive line, and then we have two girls off our track team that are over here, and
Awesome.
Gracie Hamrick, who's a great track runner for me. Whenever I say for me, for Versailles, I have a chance to coach her, and Emma Geyer play volleyball. And Jonathan Geyer plays basketball. So yeah, I think there's about 7 of us, 7 guys from Versailles and girls up here. And I use that in recruiting. Guys, they wouldn't come play for us if they didn't trust me maybe or understand, that I have their best interest in mind. And that's the biggest thing is, we've all had coaches, and I played for some of the best coaches, and I believe in the state with Bob Shore and Mike Silverwood and all those guys. And not that I always saw eye to eye with them, or it was always gravy or any of that stuff, but I always knew they had my best interests in mind, and they're fans of mine, and that's what we try to sell to these guys. And I feel like we have a great coaching staff at Westminster. John Welty's been a wealth of knowledge for me to learn, the college game and all the other stuff that goes into being a head coach at the college level is completely different than what I had in high school. But then, we've got some dynamic young coaches with us now, and guys that are full-time football coaches. So it's a completely different world than maybe a full-time history who also coaches football. And it's been awesome. It's like getting to go to a clinic every day with our defensive back coach, bouncing ideas off each other. And he's from Chicago, and we got another guy from New Orleans. So we got some different world here. We got a receivers coach from Florida. So we got some different guys that have different experiences. And it's been awesome for me to learn from them and bounce ideas off of.
Well, we were only in Versailles for a couple of years, and I thought you did a great job. So wanted to let you know that.
That's awesome. That was good. Hey Brock, man, this time flies by. I mean, it just flies by. We have finished with the amount of time that we have. You've done very well as far as explaining to us as far as what's going on and what's going to be going on up there at Westminster, and you got a great program that you're a part of. We appreciate the opportunity that you've given us to be able to talk with you tonight, even from your hotel down there in Arkansas.
Yeah, I don't know if my service is great. It doesn't look great in here, but no, anytime I can give a plug for West, I always tell guys I couldn't go to a whole lot of other colleges and be as passionate as I am. Being an alumni from there, it gives me a leg up on tours because obviously, this is where I had this class, and but I'm real passionate about Westminster because the opportunities they gave me and how much I learned and grew as a person there. And all the diversity of the people I got to meet from there and different walks of life. So I couldn't be more thrilled than I am at right now.
That's awesome. If both of you guys will hold on here for just a moment, I'm going to go ahead and close out the program, and I'll visit with you after we get off camera. And I just appreciate both of you. Derek for filling in as a guest co-host. That's awesome. And Brock for being on here. Derek's got that Christmas tree behind him, so I'll make sure to say Merry Christmas and Happy Holidays to you guys, both of you. But I'm going to close out, and I'll talk to you guys after we get done here.
Okay.
Thank you for your time.
Thank you. Well, everyone, that was a good interview. And again, I appreciate those guys being on with me tonight. And I hope you enjoyed this interview. Make sure that you share it. Also, if somebody needs to find this video as well as others, you can go to the One Nation Sports Locker Magazine Extra YouTube page, and you'll find all those on there. And again, it was a great interview, getting to know Brock and just kind of his heart and the sacrifice of his family. So if you would, just, when you know somebody's doing something like that, encourage them because they're pouring into the lives of a lot of our young people. All right, that's all we have for tonight. Join me next Monday night, and we will have another great program on One Nation, a Sports Locker Magazine Extra. This is your host, Kirk DeMars, and I'll see you next week at 7.